It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof out. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. We are coming at you from the Gritty Truck. In
I think I've done this before.
Yeah.
In the Gritty Truck.
I think so.
It's definitely gritty.
We are in, yeah, dude, it smells like butt. And Ben sweat. Ben, you stink.
You're not so rosy smelling, nicey goody.
So,
I mean, my eyes are watering leaning forward.
we are in Idaho, and we have just finished a week-long elk hunt. And I'm here with my cousin Ben Morris,
Howdy.
and my old friend Chris Conacher.
Howdy.
My new friend, Chris Conacher. We have bonded.
Yeah,
Yes.
as you do in these situations.
Shared misery.
Shared suffering, shared misery brings people together.
Plenty of that.
So, this is an interesting group. Like Ben and I are pretty normal. Like
You're pretty
we hunt together and we're normal dudes. You, on the other hand, are different, Chris. Chris is from England. He hails from Britain, and
Britain,
he's
as they say.
yeah. Is that how you say it? Right? Britain.
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 Very good. Yep.
And
It all sounds the same to me.
Yeah.
Britain.
and we had a blast this week. Chris has never hunted before. Never really, not like intensely.
Never really.
And
this was the easy one. I signed up for the easy one.
so a little story here. Chris and I really haven't talked about this. We want to talk about it on the podcast for the first time. So I wanted to, I don't know. I was at home, and for just a little backstory. I used to work at a big insurance company as their IT governance,
Whatever.
analyst and manager, and
Sounds like a made up position.
yeah, pretty much. And then did that for a long time, and I met Chris there. Chris and I worked, and he worked in security, IT security, and we got to be friends through that. And I was always into like adventuring and stuff like that, and hunting especially. But this was I don't know, how many years ago was it?
About like between 9 and 11.
Yeah.
9, 11 years. So
Yep. And so I started, so Chris and I go way back through the white collar, job. And then, it's interesting because then Chris left the insurance company and went and worked somewhere else. But we stayed in touch, and we'd have lunch a couple days a week, downtown Portland. And then I started doing the Gritty Bowman thing. And, in the very beginning, I had Chris is really good at mentoring and guiding people along and fleshing out ideas. And so I'd sit down and have lunch with you, and you would I would tell you what's going on with Gritty and this thing I'm doing. And then Chris would give me advice and kind of help me along. And it was really helpful.
yeah, and I even remember the genesis of Gritty, which was Brian one day telling me he had this crazy idea to go to the Sportsman's Show. He got a camera and a mic, and there was this guy, Aaron Snyder, there, and he wanted to ask him about his backpacks. And that was podcast number 1, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and it just sort of, I mean, I saw it grow and grow. I saw it when you were amazed when you got like 10 views, 20 views, and then 50 views and 100 views. And you were like, wow, people will actually listen to this stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then as you moved from the white collar job to doing it full time. So,
Yeah, that was a big jump.
Yeah. But it was really good to see. And just to sort of say, one of the reasons why I used to meet up with you was that, I would get these adventure stories. It was seeing Brian start this business and moving it forward and doing what he really loved. But it was also, you coming back from your hunts and seeing these adventures. And it was just sort of amazing to, be able to hear about real adventures happening in this sort of day and age. So, that was definitely my therapy, from my job. So yeah, it's very good.
Didn't you, Chris, Brian said something about you used to do or still do big wall rock climbing or something like that?
No, I used to rock climb.
Okay, that's what it was, rock climbing.
Yeah, before kids.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot before kids.
Yeah, before kids too.
Yeah.
But you get out, you kind of, we kind of make fun of those Portlanders and granola types, but
I am so full of granola this week.
But you get out. My point is, you get out there and you enjoy outside.
Yeah, and luckily I've got my wife is about 100 times fitter than me, and she keeps the kids fit, and she sort of makes me be fit as well. So,
yeah.
So she actually really helped me preparing for this.
Well, and I remember getting meat, and bringing some meat to you from the field, and you're like, I need more of that. And then
our kids were like, oh my God, if you say elk, they just their mouths start watering. And it was crazy just having a couple of elk steaks, and the kids were just basically eating it off the pan as I was cutting it up, sort of thing.
And you were really, a big part of the motivation to go hunt was for the meat.
Yeah.
For you, there's a sense of adventure in it, but as far as like the maturity of the animal, it doesn't. You're really interested in bringing home that protein.
Yeah, that 10-point I saw behind the tree, we'll get there in a bit, but yeah, that looked plenty big enough to feed.
What comes to my mind is some nice easy rifle. Cow hunts.
yeah. Now I've done this. But sort of getting back, the weird thing is I came out from England and I was pretty much anti-hunting. I wasn't actively anti-hunting, but I certainly didn't understand it. And it was just a complete lack of education. The hunting scene's very different in England, and how it's presented in England, because I now know that we've got herds of deer in England, and I now know that they're managed.
Right.
They're either hunting parties because they're on estates, or for the ones that are out not on estate land but on sort of general land, it's not really public land. There are people who are hired to go and shoot them to manage the herds and things, to conserve them. So learning this whole process behind it was very important as well. And that's where, even when we were working together, it was sort of like, well, Brian's a reasonable guy, and Brian's sort of nice, and and he goes out on these adventures and he's killing these, and it was just sort of gradually getting this education to where I just realized that I was completely uneducated as to what hunting really was, especially in the US. So that was a big turnaround.
Yeah, I felt like in Portland, I spent a lot of time, it was this weird thing where I would go to work, be professional, educated, do what I do. And then people would see me come back, from some trip with photos of a dead animal, and the meat, and I'd bring it into the office and share it with everybody. And they're like, he kills animals.
Yeah. Right.
But he seems normal,
He seems like a nice guy.
And Portland is a very hippie.
Do you want to tell him the shotgun in the back seats?
Has that not come up yet?
No,
I don't think I've heard it on the podcast
It's never
yet.
been on a podcast from what I know.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
Because that's how your workers got to see you
Yes.
as well.
That was an awkward. I don't know if I've ever told that story.
I don't think you have.
I don't think you have.
I was at work and Okay, so I was doing the Dave Ramsey get out of debt, deal. And so I had sold my fancy pickup and all the cars and paid cash for some jalopy hoopty
It was
lemons.
a white Dodge Neon.
Right. And
Which is
all
a horrible car. It's a modern Pinto.
and I paid $700 for it, cash. So you can tell, it ran and it had, it was mostly rust because the white paint had come off. So here's this ancient Dodge Neon hoopty thing with, white and rust. And, I don't want anybody to know I drive that to work. So I'm going downtown, I kind of slink into the parking garage and park it and make sure no one's looking. And then I get out and I go to work. But I was committed to getting out of debt. I wanted to be debt free. So get rid of all car payments and paying down all our revolving debt and all of our student loan debt was a big deal. Well, and the reason I tell this because so I show up to work and
to make sure the backstory behind why you had a crappy car.
Right. So I have this nice, I try to dress really professional for work. So business casual kind of, I'm clean shaven, I look professional.
The opposite of now.
Yeah. since I started Gritty, I haven't put on a pair of slacks, maybe for church. Outside of that, I wear a t-shirt 24/7. But there was a lifetime of work before that I always looked professional. So I show up to work looking professional. The weekend before, like Saturday, I had gone out and duck hunting and we had shot a bunch of ducks and then I was in a hurry and I threw the shotgun in the back seat of the Dodge Neon and then went to work. Then Monday came along, I got in and drove to work. I didn't even remember the shotgun was back there. Didn't even notice the shotgun was back there. And so it's just laying on the back seat. And this Dodge Neon, by the way, is all rusted out, but it's got tinted windows, my friends. And so
it's got options.
it's pretty sweet. But you couldn't really see into the window. And so anyway, I leave work and I had like 1 day expired tags. Like 1 day. This cop pulls me over right in front of the office building on Main Street as I'm like driving out. He pulls me over and I'm like, oh crap. And so I'm pulled over. Everyone who comes out of the building now will see me and it's almost 5:00, right? See me just parked there. Sure enough,
out early.
This cop comes out. I always did. And so this cop comes out and he's like, he tells me, hey, show me your license and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, okay, well, I start to, he's like, do you know why I pulled you over? No, you got an expired tag. And then he says, do you have any weapons? And I said, no, I don't have any weapons. And then it dawned on me that there was a shotgun in the back seat. I was like, oh, wait, yeah, no, I have a gun. He's like, hands on the wheel, hands on the wheel. So I was like, okay, well, so I grabbed the steering wheel and he's like, where is the weapon? And he's reaching for his gun. I'm like, I don't, it's in the back seat. And he's like, I need your license and registration. So I lean forward to go get it out of the glove compartment. He's like, put your hands on the wheel. Put your hands on the wheel. What are you doing? I'm like, I was reaching for the license. He's like, get out of the car. Get out of the car. So I get out of the car and next thing I know, he kicks my legs open. I fall. He slams me onto the hood. He's frisking me and I'm like right in front of the office. People are leaving now, walking out the steps and sees Brian Call over this hoopty car getting frisked by a police officer. And about an hour and a half later, that guy worked me over. He called in backup. So like 3 other cop cars came and they were all surrounding my car. It looked like a crime scene. I'm standing there on the sidewalk as everybody walks out, flanked by 2 officers. And he's running prints on the gun and all this stuff, or like a serial number to make sure it wasn't a murder weapon. And he's giving me this lecture. I'm like, look, it wasn't a concealed firearm. It was right out in the open. It's completely legal, and I can have it. And he said, yeah, but why are you dressed like this? Why are you driving this car? And I'm
He's like, you don't add up.
I'm like, he's like, and what's the shotgun for? And I'm like, I was duck hunting. I'm from Oregon City. It's pretty normal to have a gun in the back seat. It's really not that big a deal. And he goes, we aren't in Oregon City. Now are we? And at that point I knew I was in trouble because he was just a wanker. So,
Wanker?
that's a word I got from the British. So then, you know, he runs the prints, and then they gave me the ticket for the.
Did you actually see him when you came out?
No, I didn't.
You weren't.
I was in the other building. So
Yeah. So the next day.
you were in the executive building at the time.
Yeah, I was in the Ritchie building, the really nice one.
With all the fancy office workers coming out and seeing you.
All the executives. Yeah, so my boss comes out the next day. He calls me in his office. He's like, is there anything you need to tell me about? It's like, what are you talking about? He's like, the police out front. What's going on? I had to tell the whole story. He thought it was hilarious. He's like, everybody's talking about it. They are.
Good times.
So, yeah. So that's kind of the environment.
That was
Portland.
that was kind of the therapy that I would get from Brian's little escapades. You know, duck hunting to being frisked down on Main Street.
But then, just recently in the last few months, I was just sitting there thinking about Chris, and we hadn't talked in quite a while. And, cause later I want to ask you what your thoughts are now that you've been hunting, now that you've been on one of these kind of adventures. But before we get there, cause I'm really curious about your opinion. You know, a couple months ago, how long was it?
45 days.
Yeah, Chris knows better than I
45
do.
days to get prepared.
So I sent him a text and I was like, hey, Chris, you know, I'm going to go. I got a whole bunch of hunts this year. You know, you should come hunt with me, because I thought it would be cool for Chris to get out and hunt with someone, you know, with some experience.
Yep.
And I know you've always been interested, and you got yourself a bow and you got kind of going on it. And
When did the bow come into play?
Oh, that was like two
Long time
seasons ago.
yeah, when I was about a year into Gritty, I think.
And I used to do archery anyway, so even just having it and shooting it was fun.
Yeah.
I used to do recurve.
He went up to Triple X archery
Yep.
with Corey Miller. And,
Yeah, I used to, like, when Brian was in town, if I got the opportunity, I'd skip work, jump in the truck if you were driving out to Triple X Archery.
Was a bad influence.
Again, adventure. Got to take it when you can.
Yeah,
So,
ditching work was.
Yeah. So Corey had this elite synergy in his shop that no one would touch. And however he got an elite bow in his shop. And he set it up for me. No, he set it up for me and gave me a good deal, which was really nice of him.
Dude, my eyes are starting to water because Ben took his shoes off. Dude, those are so ripe. So
I washed mine in the stream earlier. It was like,
Get out in the rain right now.
okay, so yeah, a few months ago, 45 days ago, I texted Chris and said, "Hey, I've got a few hunts, right?
yeah.
Let's take you on one of them. I got this, you know, whitetail hunt in Ohio, and we've got this Coos deer hunt in Arizona, Javelina. We got mule deer, spot and stock, you know, and we have elk, but be forewarned, it's just hell.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of physical. I don't know if you probably won't like it. So, but anyway, it's there on the table, but Chris texts back, says, elk hunt. I'm like, wait a minute. Rethink this, my friend. This is hell. This is a,
I was working on the basis. I mean, basically 45 days to prepare. And I was working on the basis that I would set myself different levels of stupidity more than, because I hadn't exercised in like a year and a half at least. So I was setting myself different levels of stupidity for me. And I just reckoned that, you know, when it got to the time, if I couldn't do it, if there was any problems or whatever, I'd let you know, but at least it gave me something to go for. So
Good goal, huh?
Well, then Chris,
Huge goal. But it was because you mainly did elk hunting. That was the stories I heard. That and the blacktail.
yeah, and elk hunting was just something Ben and we've just grown up doing it our whole lives, and
that's the one that strikes me as sort of the adventure. I mean, it's the public land.
We used to, we've done elk hunts where we hunt right out of the truck or a camper, and we go out and foray for the day and come back, but almost exclusively nowadays we backpack and carry everything on our backs.
You just seem to be a little more successful that way, and it's more of an adventure.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's so cool.
I mean, what'd you think? You had everything you needed for days on your back.
It's so liberating. I mean, it's just bizarre. You've got warmth, shelter, food. That's all you need. Fine water, and you just go wherever you want to, sort of thing. You've got a general aim about the elk, trying to find the herd. So you're making decisions within that, but there's nothing actually dictating anything you do apart from the vertical loose rock.
And we were deep.
You get cliffed out, you're like, well, tent's going right here.
Yeah, and we did. We went really deep into the.
Yeah, it was amazing.
In there, and I mean, it's your first multi-day.
Yep, first multi-day hike. It was first hunt, lots of firsts. So.
Ben,
First
this was
elk
like
at 10 yards. Screen
yeah, that's a story we got to get into because Chris had an elk at 10 yards. How cool is that? Bow and arrow in hand, elk at 10 yards.
Me facing in the wrong direction.
Calling. Yeah. We were just talking about that earlier.
It was actually, I mean, the thing that got me, my level of understanding changed around. I've listened to the podcasts and things, but you sort of hear the advice and stuff, but seeing the decisions, and you don't quite understand them, so you think maybe half of them are being made up. And like I was joking about the soap opera that you were doing, and then it worked. I mean, you were calling these bulls in, and I'm like, wow, it does work. He's not just making it up. So
yeah,
what's the soap opera?
There was like
they might not know what you're talking about.
Oh right, yeah. So all the different calls that Brian would do, and it would be like the lone bull going, excuse me, where are my friends? And then there's the other one going, I'm going to fight the lot of you. And then there was this sort of sexy mama going, over here, boys. And then the little lost calf, oh, it's my mummy. This sort of thing. And they would just go on and on. And as I say, the first time I'm kind of like, because Corey Miller always is, not Corey Miller, Corey Jacobson and Jason Phelps both talk about what sort of story are you trying to tell. So I went in with that mindset, and this story was just like, as I say, it was a soap opera.
What story are you trying to tell, Brian?
Triple X, boom, chick, bow, wow. That's the whole deal. Like, you try to get them, I try to get them as worked up as possible.
Yeah, I mean, getting these bulls curious as to what is going on over here?
Well, and you can see how hard it is to find one if you don't lure one in with calling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got when they're not making sound, it's pretty amazing.
Well, and what's amazing is an animal that big could sneak up on you at 10 yards. Right?
Well, what are you saying, Brian?
When you turn around, you're like, whoa!
Oh. But yeah, so we did this calling sequence the night before. We had called in a couple of 6x6 bulls that Ben tried to get some shots at. And all I had heard was some noise up in the rocks on the hill above where we were getting water. So I ran down,
had tent set
and
up,
I grabbed Ben. I'm like,
Ben,
Ben,
water.
I'm hearing noise right there. So Ben got up on a spot where we thought the elk would come through, and I started doing the calling and stuff. And
nothing. We gave up and came back, and
we heard a little tiny bugle.
That was the second time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then
I was like, yeah, whatever. And then you come down a second time, like, no, man, I heard something.
Yep. There's a couple false alarms where I'm like, but I was like, no, there's something there. Get over here. And so Ben it was hard to pull him away from his
dinner and bed.
his uncooked top ramen that he's munching,
and the really tasty water that we were getting at that camp with added
It only
protein.
had one dead bird and one dead mouse.
It was not a bird. It was no bird
was
I'd
not
ever
a bird.
seen.
No, it was a squirrel.
Was
Big
it?
old
You
squirrel.
sure?
Yeah.
Looked like a
Yeah.
bird to me. I didn't get
Yeah.
that close though.
Yeah, it was
There were some
bad.
dead bodies in the water.
Yep.
But yeah, we had a bull come in about 40 yards for Ben, but just
Two
couldn't
of
get a
them.
clear shot.
Yeah, you had two.
When you told me, you were like, right there, I was like, shoot him, you know?
He was broadside at 40. I don't remember
Yeah,
what that
40.
one was. Was it 40?
Yeah.
But he had all kinds of. There was just enough branches that I was like, I can't get that through there. And I was like,
Well, and it looked like
was
you were going to get a better
raking.
shot.
I did, and it looked. There was openings.
Yeah.
He had an opening on his right, an opening
Yeah.
on his left, and
And the wind was
sucker ended up just
the wind
going
was
away,
being good.
away from us. Yeah, that was awesome.
As it
man.
was, but we played him out for about an hour and just couldn't quite get a
Just wouldn't
shot.
come in within bow range.
You had him at 70 at one point, and then they kind of were floating around at 100 and circling the field, and they just something wasn't right. They just wouldn't commit.
I think they ended up seeing our tents.
I think they did too. But the next day, we heard some bugles. So we went straight to the bugles, which was a bit of a monumental hike. And then we got in there, and that's where we had to sneak past a cow, elk, calf
Yeah,
that was
calf.
just standing there. Ben took a selfie with it, and then
Tried. I ended up just taking a picture.
we got over and started
Where the
doing some
bulls
calling.
were.
And we knew where the bull. Well, we knew he was right on top of that
So
ridge.
what did we decide? There was at least 3 bulls right there?
At least 3.
At least 3 bulls?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 bulls. The first, and that's where we got in there to where we thought they were.
Yep.
Brian started calling. I got up here because we were trying to stay high enough to where the wind, was good. It was blowing up, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't get below them and wind them out, so we stayed high. Well, I ended up getting way too high, and I was up here, Brian was here, and the elk was way below us. So,
Yeah.
so I ended up running down as fast as I could to get in range, but that's when the bull came in hot and heavy to Brian, and he ended up getting too close. And
Yeah, bull came in to about 40 yards or less and just screamed. And Ben was a little too far away from me. He had gone up where we thought the bull was to intercept him as he came down, and he circled below. So then we took off after him.
I ended up seeing
And
his butt, and that was about it.
We were in bulls a bunch, screaming at us. We were screaming at them, and it was just
it all happened real
give and
quick.
take.
Once
Yep.
he started screaming, we got down there, and he kind of busted out. Then the other one fired
Yeah.
off another little tiny ravine over, and we met up and
So
took off
while
after that
all this
one.
is happening, Chris, what went down on your?
So we were chasing 2 bulls, and then Chris was back in the very beginning doing what?
Brian had sent me down the hill slightly. And I'd seen one coming in 100 yards that looked as though he was going across towards your call.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't worked out the timeline as to whether that was the one that ended up at 40 yards in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't see because he went and then there was more trees and stuff between us. There just happened to be this opening where I happened to see him. And then I kept hearing sounds over to the right, though. So I went down the hill a bit and set up to where I had 2 shooting lanes because I thought it was coming round and was going to come across directly to you. And I'm standing there and I'm waiting and I hear some noise, and then I don't hear anything. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see a set of antlers and I turn on either side of a tree and there's these antlers at 10 yards because I'd sighted that tree, and this one had come up all the way behind me. And I mean, I didn't think I moved at the time, but speaking to you guys as to what counts as movement, for an
More
elk,
than the eyeballs is movement.
yeah, then I moved and he must have spotted it, and he spun, he kicked up so much dirt. I went and looked at the patch afterwards, and he flew down and he flew up these rocks, and I was like, wow, they're fast.
Yeah. They can move when they want to.
Yeah.
Oh, it was incredible. So
Yeah,
So
what
do you want to fill in your bit about how you were trying to get my attention because you didn't realize this was going on.
Yeah, there was a lot going on then, and I was when the bull screamed at us at 40 yards, I looked up the hill to see where Ben was, and he was nowhere in sight, and I got a bull in my lap, and Chris is about 10 yards below me. If he moves forward about 10 yards, you can see over the crest and shoot him. So I started throwing rocks at Chris and stuff, trying to get his attention. I'm like,
because I'm concentrated now on this other noise I'm hearing.
And I can't get Chris. Finally, I'm throwing rocks. And then when Chris looks at me, I'm like pointing down the hill, like right there. And
I'm
kind of thinking, yeah, I saw it at 100 yards. It's going round here.
I already seen it.
Yeah. So at that point, I was still raking, and I saw Chris go down the hill away from where the bull just screamed. And
yeah, because I must have assumed it was you bugling.
Yeah. And then he screamed again, and I'm like, he's right in those trees. So I decided Ben's not here. Chris is going rogue.
I was actually right on your tail.
I'm just going to go in, I didn't know how fast Ben was moving or whatever. I didn't know where Ben was at all if he even heard it,
Yeah.
Anyway, it was really awesome. It was just fun to get in.
That was fantastic.
We called in another one a little bit later that same day, and Ben almost got one. He had shot. If he just stood a little
that was another
longer.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the one that I went after, which I had that bull at like 30 yards. Just
while I was chasing the one that was talking to us. The one that came in, they kept coming in twos.
Yeah, they were
twos and threes.
Twos and threes. We called that mountain they were on. Ben and I decided to name it. We're going to call it Brokeback Mountain. That or Bachelor Mountain, because there wasn't a frickin' cow on it or any herd bulls. It was just a bunch of young bulls.
Yeah, it was weird.
Pedophile
we
Mountain.
blew them all out.
Yeah,
in the 2 days.
But it was amazing. That was incredible.
As amazing as it was, we've had better.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I mean, it's still the aim is to bring meat home.
Yeah.
So
I'm just glad you were able to see an elk up close, have a call in,
super close
happen, and dude, Chris, we were both impressed. Like,
yeah, dude,
we went on triple whammy advanced
black diamond
hunt. This is not like for the faint of heart. Yeah. Ben and I have taken people on hunts like this, and we just don't even bother because they quit. They quit, or they're like, what is wrong with you? You guys are sick and demented. This isn't fun. This was everything was painful. Like nothing. It's all discomfort and sacrifice.
My feet hurt.
And yet, Chris is just smiling the whole time.
Yeah,
we get done like this, and we're all, oh man, my knees and my feet, and they're like, well, why do you guys do that? Like, man, it was just some of those views.
Oh yeah,
some of those views that we had, 9,000. I don't think we ever got above 9.
Yeah, we were at like 9,100 at one point.
Is that what it was?
When we were sitting up glassing, when we were
on the edge of a cliff.
That was right after
we'd
that.
gone along a cliff,
feet?
and then we came back and we finally sat down and we glassed
I
the
saw
area.
That one elk out there in the flats.
Yeah, that was like 9,100 feet or something.
That's cool. We did that today too.
So
crazy. So physically, what was it like, Chris?
It was good. The thing was, I mean, we basically did 4 days in, didn't we? Because we walked out on the 4th day, end of the 4th day. That was kind of my limit physically. I mean, as I say, I spent today, these guys went out for more craziness.
10 miles.
Yeah. I stayed
10,000 feet.
I stayed back at the camp. And I ate 4 lunches and, 2 oat breakfasts.
Sometimes we just don't have enough time to stop and eat.
Yeah.
I had a peanut butter bar, 2 peanut butter bars today.
Yeah. And I drank like 90-odd ounces of water. And
don't forget the Mountain Dews and the Doritos.
Yeah, we did. We got in the truck, and I was like, I smashed 2 Mountain Dews and a bag of Doritos.
Wow, the Doritos. It must have been bad. So. But yeah, I mean, it was, my worries were, dying, serious injury, messing up the hunt for you guys. Cause I mean, it's still, your hunt sort of thing. So I'm just sort of the passenger learning and stuff. So, but apart from that, it was just like, it was fantastic. So it was really just how long I could go, and it worked out perfect. So
what's your view of hunting now?
Oh, incredible. I mean, it's really weird because when you're sort of stuck in that 9-to-5 life, it's so easy to not have any adventure.
And
it's
day-to-day grind.
Yeah, and this sort of thing reminds you as to sort of what's important, the fact that you can have those sort of moments of freedom, and all it takes is, a tent, a backpack, a sleeping bag and stuff, and some boots. It doesn't have to be this, we've got to save up for this huge vacation somewhere, or a trip to Europe or whatever. Just head out into the backcountry. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, we met some guys from Michigan last night.
Yep.
And we ran into them down here at this restaurant when we hiked out.
I saw the Michigan guys this morning. They
Did
told
you?
me, I drove up to get some coverage, and they told me there was an elk down here by,
Really?
by the canvas cutters. No, they were joking. But they're like, there's elk back there by your canvas cutters. I'm like, yeah, right.
Oh, no, they found out where we were, huh?
It's funny. They were telling us though how much they enjoyed. They come out west, and they were talking about just the sheer amount of public land available,
incredible.
like the size of the mountains and the land that they can just go out and do whatever they want on.
Yeah, and the guys from the Carolinas.
Dude, did you see the smiles on those guys' face?
Oh yeah,
they were excited.
Yeah. I've been
whitetail hunters come out for their first time.
Yep.
Talked about how they saved up, planned for it, and
Yep.
And they did some really good work on trying.
They've
to
gotten
find
in a
out
bunch of elk.
They
More
did,
elk than we did.
That's right. They found
you
a
see the
herd
picture
on
they
day
had?
one.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
better than what
That
we
was
had.
amazing.
They called that one bull in, and they all had their bows strapped to their backpacks.
They kept telling us all these rookie mistakes, and it's funny because we just got done telling you all of our rookie mistakes in the very beginning, and then we show
They
up
were
and listen to
funny.
theirs.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was the other thing. It was just like the end of those 4 days, and we're in a restaurant, and it's just a bunch of people talking about hunting, and people from all over different places.
Yeah, there was like 5 groups of hunters that came in last night. We all kind of just hung out and chatted,
Yeah, it was amazing. So,
and I just think people who don't, you look at all this public land that's available for anyone, and how unutilized it is by the average American. They just don't know what it is that they have.
But also, I mean, it's interesting your guys' style of hunting, which is get in there, get away from people, work a spot, move on, work a spot, move on sort of thing. And, so you've got that sort of that journey. You've got the hunt itself, you've got the individual encounters, you're trying to bring back meat, all this stuff. I mean, it's just incredible that you can sort of do that, on this land that's just available. I mean, it's just amazing. So.
Well, in elk hunting, I've said this. I said this on a recent video I did. It's just hard. There's just no way around it. It is. Every elk hunt, even the easy ones, are hard. Like, elk hunting it's always a challenge, especially if you do OTC, over the counter, like we did, public land hunt, which is what this was. And then in the terrain that we're hunting, it's intense. And so I wanted to talk to you about that because honestly, I was really worried. I kept calling, I kept checking in with you to see how your fitness was coming along. Because it's a big deal. You get up there and a dude gets stuck.
Yep.
And you're there for 2 days while they're trying to recover, or you got to help them carry their gear out, or they're just they're dying. Yep. We've been there, and And then we're cursed later, like, what were you trying to do? How dare you take me to that spot? Or how stupid are you? And it's our fault, right? So I was trying to tell you, look, if you're coming on this elk hunt, you're more than welcome. But you better suck it up and carry your own weight, because I ain't doing it for you.
Yeah, and that's something. I mean,
and you committed to it.
Yeah, and the other thing that helped was I'd had all these stories from you about good times, bad times, and all of that. So I wasn't under any illusion that this was going to be a holiday. And I mean, sort of the text came through and I'm like, oh crap. 45 days to go. Just threw on a 70-pound pack. Went for a walk around the little park near our house, which is about 2 miles. And then I sort of added, like, there's this hill that's probably 50 feet high. I would add that in and I would go up and down it 10 times and side hill it and just add things. And I found a hill where, it's like half mile up and it's pretty steep. So I would just go up and down that with a 70-pound pack. And, first time I did it, I went up once and almost died. By the end, I could do that sort of 7 times. And then I did with Dog Mountain near us, with a 70-pound pack. That almost killed me. 'Cause that's like a 3,000 foot elevation change in 3 miles, I think, maybe 4 miles.
So were you able to get out every day, every other day, once a week?
I was trying to do every day. And like, even I park about just over half a mile from my work. So the bag that has my laptop and my lunch in, I put 40 pounds of weight in it. So it added up to 50 pounds. And I would do that, and then I would extend my route, and then I would add in multi-story car parks. So I'd go up like 9 flights, down 9 flights, walk along to the next one, up 9 flights, down 9 flights. So just adding, stuff. The other funny thing was my wife teaches all these fitness classes. She's crazy fit. I started doing like the family ones that she does with kids. First one of those almost killed me. It was like trying to run around with these sort of 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. I was like, playing touch rugby on a Sunday. I hadn't sprinted anywhere in forever. So just gradually adding these things. And I had some issues. I exercised for 2 weeks and then my wife goes, "Are your legs swollen?" And we looked down and my feet were about twice the size as they should be.
Ouch.
Yeah, so I had to stop exercise, get that checked out and things. So there were kind of a few off and on moments where just things sort of happened. But, as I say, it was just sort of like, okay, do more than I think I can, because this is going to be more than I can do. And then if it breaks me, I can just say, okay, I'm not up to it, sort of thing. So, but everything kept improving. And I was trying to do my archery in the morning as well. But the thing, it was weird because getting closer and closer, I started getting a bit down because I was getting odd health problems and things. And then I managed to do Defiance. And Defiance sort of turned into it should have been like a 7 mile in out with a 50-pound pack.
What's Defiance?
It's a 5,000 foot mountain in the gorge,
okay.
But it's 5,000 feet, and the actual climb is from like 100 feet to 5,000 feet. And the actual climb is in about 3 miles. So it's very steep.
Yeah.
And did, 50-pound pack, and it should have been like 7 and a bit miles in and out. But I decided to do a loop, which shouldn't have added anything. But then the way out was blocked. So you had to get back it turned out to be a 16-mile trip. Over,
so
and I was walking
back,
for 11 hours. And when I did that one, I was like, okay, great. I managed to just keep going through feeling shit and, all that.
So you knew coming here, you kind of knew you'd push yourself to limits at home. So when you got here, you knew what you could do.
Yeah, just the hope that I could just keep going. So, Yeah, it was fun.
But that's some serious, in 45 days, that's some serious effort. Like hard work.
Yeah, that was getting up. There were a lot of 4:30, 5 o'clock mornings to get it done before work, and then maybe getting back and doing some more in the evening or whatever.
Are you going to keep at it now?
I'm going to try to. My wife won't let me stop now. Now she knows I can do that. She'll be like, get out of that armchair. So,
I got a commitment for you. Go out and just you and your wife and go do like a weekend.
Yeah.
Go find someone. That gorge is awesome. There's tons of hikes and trails up in there.
Yeah, we're blessed with a lot of really good outdoor stuff around there. I mean, for all the jokes people make about Portland, there is a lot. There's a lot of good outdoor stuff. So I'm going to try and keep doing that.
That gorge is hard to beat, man.
Here's the thing, like, why? I tried to talk you out of this hunt.
Yeah.
I tried to talk you into something else multiple times. But you were like committed. This is the one you wanted.
So I'll sort of tell you this bit because you weren't aware of this when you sort of sent me my text as to what my year had been like. So I had health issues. I had health issues way back, to the point where I couldn't even run around with the kids. You know, I couldn't even kick a soccer ball with them or whatever. Just sort of sitting and watching them. So that was, that was really horrible when you got young kids. And then, sort of got over that, improved my fitness. And every time there would sort of be this knockback, where I'd end up, I'd be doing great and then bang, something would happen. And then, this year, I had, 2 operations. My car died, which was a piece of me, which may sound silly, but it was. And then the 25th of April, my father died, after a long illness. So, and the thing was, on this trip, my tent, my bag, my boots, they were all my dad's. My dad used to do these crazy, Tennessee minus 40 degrees, fording rivers. He hiked lots in Flagstaff and Sedona. Basically did every trail that was listed and then sort of, just made his own. He would join up trails. He would just do these things. So, and one of the aims was when he retired was that, that was an opportunity for him to do it more. And it was an opportunity for maybe me to do it with him. So he, I think he would have been amazed with this. I mean, this trip, maybe not the hunting bit. He tells me one hunting story. So this is another thing. So I came out from England. I'm anti-hunting. When I look into it, my great grandfather was a ghillie, a gamekeeper. So on a Scottish estate, for the Duke of Buccleuch. Yeah. So my great grandfather was a ghillie. And then, my grandfather, he had shotguns and stuff. And my dad told this story about, my great grandfather got to use this hunting lodge on this estate. So one time, my grandfather decides to take my dad along. Haven't got a car, so they take the bus. So what they do is they break down the shotguns and they insert different parts because you're not allowed to carry a shotgun on a bus. So they break it down and they got all the ammunition and everything. And it was a 12 gauge and a 410. And my dad basically, and I'm kind of so did you kill anything? And he's like, no, we just stood in this hunting lodge. And then eventually, his father, my grandfather, got him to try the shotguns, and the 12 gauge broke his shoulder blade because he was about 10 at the time or something. Wow. So, yeah. But,
start with the 410.
Yeah. So that's in the, that's kind of in the background as well. But but I think this adventure thing my dad would have loved. And when your text message came in, I said to my wife, Patty, I just said, Brian's offering me an elk hunt. I didn't tell her about the others even. and she's just like, go for it. That's what you need. And it was absolutely, it's just that thing again of all this crap going on, all this stuff, all these setbacks or whatever. And you're sort of looking at it and it's like, my dad worked incredibly hard to his retirement with a view to being able to do all this stuff. And then he got ill and he couldn't. And it's so important that we find these opportunities for adventure, when they come up. That's why it was, that text was like, boom, perfect timing.
Yeah, I was just sitting around, and there's a lot of people that I could go hunt with. There's a long list of
Americans.
Yeah, Americans.
They're not as interesting.
For some reason, though, it just was in my head, and I just felt like it was important to I don't know. We hadn't talked in quite a long time, and I'm like.
Yeah, it was not expected, but it was like, I was like, whoa. Yeah.
Well, then when you were so committed to the elk hunt, I was like, there's no talking this man out of this. Like, all right, here we go.
That was as I say, my dad's tent, dad's sleeping bag, dad's boots, it's the sort of adventure he would have done.
Right.
So
that's some
it
good
was
gear.
Incredible.
Your dad's stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, as I
done.
say, he was like, he did some serious hiking.
Yeah.
So serious other stuff, caving, climbing. So yeah, I mean, so on the level of fear, I'll tell you some of my childhood stories. Going through cave systems and getting lost, and you're basically following this map that is this sort of flat two-dimensional representation that's line drawn.
I don't want to go underground.
And, and then because I was the smallest, my dad would send me off ahead to look for ways out. And I mean, we did a jump. It was only like a 5 or 6 foot jump because we came out the wrong way, but you were jumping over a 200-foot drop and things like this. So yeah, I've been people have got me into really crazy situations.
What are you saying, Chris?
Steep wall, gravel.
We made a tactical error yesterday.
Cliffed out.
Yeah.
Well, but I'll give a bit of thing for I mean, I'm like using my trekking poles like ice picks to keep myself on. I mean, I'm like, my legs, my arms are burning. And Ben is like just walking along, like he's out for a stroll, and I'm like, what the hell? Does the rock not move?
You just ride the rock.
Ben.
That was mountain goat.
I couldn't do that today, though.
No.
Day 4 or 5.
But when we were kids, we spent a lot of time,
getting into stupid places.
Yes.
And the whole stupid places, a lot of things started flashing through my mind.
And the rock hopping thing, we had this Abernathy Creek down by our house, and literally we would just spend hours jumping from rock to rock to rock to rock to rock to rock,
right,
up and down those,
looking for crawdads.
And we would inevitably slip and fall in the water.
We could not go down there without getting wet. Yes. And it was off limits.
Yeah, if we got
not allowed to go down there, or we get whipped. Belt whooping.
I've told this story.
Got belt whoopings all the time.
That's when my mom's like, you have to check in every hour, because she figured we couldn't get down there and back within an hour. And we timed it, and it really, you didn't have any time to hang out by the time you had to get back. But then there was this cliff and a rope, and that would get you there really fast and up fast. Of course, you were climbing a cliff with a rope, so that's how we did it.
Oh,
and
wow.
then we circumvented the I still had to check in, but I could get down there in like 10 minutes just going straight off the cliff.
We started stashing extra pairs of clothes,
yes,
too.
Because we'd slip and get wet.
We'd wear them down, change real quick, and then go get all wet and come back and change. And
oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, they tried their darndest to keep away from that Abernathy, but that was the coolest thing ever.
Tempting. Yeah, it was just water.
And but again, and that's another thing I'll say, actually, because, okay, this was an amazing adventure doing this, but you guys, who you're hunting with makes such a difference. And I mean, like, one of my biggest worries was, you know, not being able to keep up, etc. But I didn't want to be dragging you guys away from the hunt, because this is also meant to be.
Well, you know,
Brian
tells me about a month ago, hey, there's this guy buddy of mine that's going to come with us. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then more I kept hearing from Portland, from my old work. I'm like, what kind of person are you going to bring with? He's British.
never shot at anything.
And I think I'm like, well, he's going to be able to keep up. He's like, he's going to have to. We'll leave him behind.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, good. As long as that's clear.
Yeah, I did say at one point, I said, just send me the long lap and I'll make my way out. And
I didn't think that would be a good idea.
And I
was pretty straight.
I was telling Ben, I was like, I told him, I said, Chris has been texting me every day, and I've been getting, you know, he hiked like, you know, 5 miles with a 50-pound pack.
And once you said that, I was like, all right, we should be all right.
Like, he's worked his way up to it. So I said,
on this.
I said he should be fine. So, and sure enough, and it was a blast because
I only really blew one thing out, maybe.
No, you did great.
No, where I'd lost confidence in my topo reading ability. I ended up walking around a whole hill, parking the truck it was partly because you had said go for the trees, and I'm walking around this hill going, where are the trees? There's sagebrush everywhere.
What's
There's
this
no
now?
trees. The lookout knob in the middle where we saw the elk originally from the truck.
Like day one.
Yeah, you guys were setting to stalk, and I'm supposed to be hiding around the corner, and all of a sudden I look up and see you, and you guys see me. So I was now
we weren't
going
to tell that story, though.
Yeah.
No.
You know what?
It's all part of the learning experience.
But I'm curious, like, you know, a big part of what makes a hunting, you know, week of hunting, any hunt, great is the camaraderie, and the brotherhood and the friendship. And on a hunt like this, you're it's a suck fest.
Yep.
And so, you're really trying to, you know, put a face on it and stuff, but you'll get tired and get grumpy, and you know,
get grumpy.
So how does that correlate? You know, when you put it in that frame, most people see it for what it is, and they're just like, I'm not going to do that. It's hard work and effort. But then when you look back, and we've said this many times, when you're going through it, and I think for some reason I've been able to get better at this.
Yeah.
And the misery, the pain, and I just think back to when I'm done with this, I know for a fact I'm going to look back on it, and it's going to be a good, happy thought.
Well,
I
heard Steven Ranella, I think he got it from someone else, but he said something like, there's fun, like, while you're doing it, like a roller coaster, but then there's fun, like, you hate it now, but you look back on it, and you're like, that was really fun.
Yeah, but you got to realize, for me, it was like, I mean, one of the comments you made, a bad day's hunting is still better than a good day's work or whatever.
At the office. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was that, but also the fact for me, everything was so new. I mean, everything. So,
drinking out of dead water.
Yeah. Drinking out of dead water.
Pools.
But like even the, let's go down 500 feet down a steep
rock chute
to get water.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's go back up it, with our backs. But to me, it's like, that's just funny because I knew that was going to happen. So even though my muscles and everything are screaming and I'm tired and I'm dying or whatever, for me, it's still entertaining because I don't get to do that. So, it wasn't that I would look back and go, oh, that's great. It was actually, oh my God, I am out here. Oh, look at how expensive this is. Oh, I could fall off this and die, but isn't it beautiful? I mean,
Right.
you know, oh, I'm walking across loose rock. You know, I never thought I could do that. You know,
Yeah.
all this sort of thing. So yeah, that sort of newness to everything, that helps so much, I think.
Well, and I think then back to your point that there's a sense of accomplishment that
Oh, yeah.
like the best things in life are the things that
You work hard
I
for.
worked the hardest for
Yeah.
and then achieved.
Yeah.
You know,
It's things that
definitely.
are just given to you, you can't appreciate that as
And,
well as if you had
you
to
know,
work your butt off
we
for
didn't
it.
we didn't get an elk. We came close. I'll come
Had a
back
champ.
in a few more days. I come back with Corey Jacobson, and that should help.
Yeah. Although we haven't
Having
had a
Mr.
lot
Elk
talking.
101. I know.
Hopefully, it'd be interested to see what you guys can turn up.
Yeah.
But-
That'll be interesting if it changes or.
Yeah. Well, it always gets better. I mean, they get more vocal as the
Yeah.
season progresses. So, I mean, I'm anticipating it to heat up. I mean, there's places where Ben and I have hunted where Desolation, for example, in Oregon, we've hunted there a few times, and I remember being there. That's where Ben shot his first bull. He was in that unit, and they were just screaming that last 4 or 5 days of the season, just going off. They wouldn't shut up. There's bull, 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 bull. We'd been there 2 weeks earlier, and we didn't see a single thing.
Right.
And we go back on the weekends and stuff.
So it just depends. I mean,
Yeah. No.
and like I was really hoping you'd see like a huge, giant herd with a big herd bull,
That's
Yeah,
always
that's
neat.
amazing.
That's always fun to
and
see.
Yeah.
just we never found that kind of action.
Everybody else we talked to at the diner last night did.
Yeah, I know. That makes me feel like just a really good, gritty hunter.
But that's the other thing. I mean, you've got this land, but you've got these large mammals that are living in large herds. I mean, that's just, that's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, they manage to be there. They're not in a zoo. They're not in some sort of farm. They're not, in whatever. They're just living there wild.
But I think people, that live in the West and grew up here, they take it for granted. They think that stuff's just always been here.
They
don't
treat it like one big zoo.
They don't realize how much conservation went into restoring elk herds and deer herds.
You
And
know how many people just think if you just
Leave it
hands
alone.
off, it'll take care of itself?
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
just not possible today anymore.
No, that's right.
yeah, and as expansive as this landscape is, it's actually very, very small
Oh, yeah.
and fragile.
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
if you look at the size of the herds and what their migrations were, I mean, you'd have to rip whole cities out of the map.
Yeah. And, they were taking out wolves, the fish and game, because just the other day, in this area, and wolves are, they're here and they're here to stay. But if you don't manage those wolves, you're going to have problems with your herds. If
There's
it's
balance.
Yeah, there's a balance. And the thing is this is a part that a lot of people overlook. They're like, well, just let the wolves reach equilibrium with the elk. It's like, well, humans consume elk meat too. And if we want to maximize that resource, and that's what it is, it's a resource. Well, if we're going to maximize that, then we need to manage the wolf population as well and treat it the same as we treat the elk.
Yep.
And people don't understand the reasoning for killing any predator.
If it was to just, if we were to do what they want, some people would say, let's just let it do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
The wolves would wipe certain animals out.
Well, you'd have
populations in certain areas
You'd
that
have-
would go away.
Well, yeah, you'd have populations plummet, and then the wolves would die off, and those populations would come back. You'd have these extreme variations in population, and we can avoid all that through proper management and maximize it. So,
There's certain species that are fragile enough that they would probably go away and not come back.
yeah, for sure, especially in certain locations. Yeah, it's a frustration of ours for sure. But, dude, it was awesome, Chris. I had a
Overall,
blast.
This
a
was brilliant.
phenomenal trip. Good hunt. It was good to meet you, Chris. And
Yeah,
hopefully
and
we
you
can do it
likewise.
again.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So,
Well, expect to
Best
see
time ever.
do some more elk hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd
We need
recommend this to anyone.
It's therapy.
To anyone with the right frame of mind.
Yeah, that's right. Anyone who goes in.
You know, people
knowing
know
it's
who
gonna
they
be a
are.
suck-fest.
When
Yeah.
they know that
Yeah.
they just know. You know who you are.
Was
that
there
they would
anything-
enjoy this?
Just like before we close out, like that was really surprising to you that you're like, that's just a new.
I just think the freedom, the fact that you're on this land with a mission.
The fat or the fact?
Fact.
Okay.
Fact. That you're on this land with a mission and you've got this whole huge area to go through, and literally you've got everything on your back to do it, and that's just such a difference from the normal 9-to-5 world. I'm still sort of amazed at that.
Well, we've got our packs light enough now, and if I didn't have camera gear, it would be ridiculous. Because what I carry now, even with camera gear, is not bad. I think I went up on the mountain with 5 days of food, and I believe mine weighs it was 42 pounds plus my bow,
which was 8.
So I had 50 pounds between my bow and my pack.
I think
Yeah.
we were both pretty close to that.
Yeah, mine was, I think mine was 45 plus my bow when I weighed it. Because I didn't realize you don't do cooked foods. You don't take a stove or anything.
Well,
Sometimes
we do.
Okay.
Like if it gets colder and wetter,
Yeah.
it's nice to have a hot meal.
I needed that hot meal.
Yeah.
That was so important.
it makes a
So-
difference.
For
It
me,
really does.
Man, I just hate cooking. I hate it. And I find for me, if I'm looking at performing well on a hunt like that, it's so physically demanding. Sleep is imperative.
You
It's
were
critical.
up in the morning before us, and you were in bed most of the time after us cooking your
Yeah,
meals.
because I don't
breakfast,
sleep anyway.
which works if you're not
Yeah.
someone who sleeps. I myself enjoy sleep.
Oh my god.
To the very-
Soaring logs. It was
Ben
like,
snores
You
like
can hear how
nobody's-
much I enjoy my sleep.
I need sleep, and so
yep.
when you gotta heat up water, warm up the food, wait for it to cool, eat it,
Yeah.
it's just this process, and I try to have all my food eaten throughout the day that I have a goal to eat, so
Yeah.
that by the time we set up our tents, I don't need to eat, but maybe
and that's something
one
I need
thing.
to learn. Yeah, because I realized
because I need to get in bed.
Yeah, because I realized today that there was no way that I was eating enough.
Yeah,
But the other
That
thing
takes
is
practice.
that I have like a downtime thing, so it doesn't matter what I'm doing. So whether I'm at home or on this or whatever, so I'll have this downtime, which is between bed and whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of a recovery thing for me as well. So
Sounds like a waste of time to me.
yeah, that's right. It was like, I mean, I don't know how
straight to
many
the
hours
snoring.
I slept, but I did not sleep much.
My wife hates it. I can lay my head down and
me too.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: like when it comes to sleeping in the woods, when it comes to the meals and all of that, with enough practice, it's just you start to get more efficient, and those are areas that I see new people
Yeah.
struggle with. Their food isn't quite dialed, and
Yeah.
then when they
I
sleep,
thought you did really well.
yeah.
I think you had
But-
a better variety. That's the thing I struggle with every time. Is
Ben is like the pickiest eater
That's
on the
horrible.
planet. And he
horrible.
and then he just decides, I don't feel like eating, and so he doesn't eat.
I'll force some stuff down, but I'm not like you. I can't get
I don't struggle with that at all.
it to go. Like if I have to eat another one of them stinking meals or
yeah.
power bars, I gotta get enough of variety.
There's not a
Yeah,
thing
do
in my
variety.
bag that I brought that I don't thoroughly enjoy eating.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like Ben eats it one day.
Was
and he's
there
like,
any
I'm
ice
done.
cream? Cake? None of that was in there.
Yeah,
It's funny
I'm
though.
pretty good at its I'm pretty good at its calories, but I actually enjoyed a lot of the stuff I brought. So,
Yeah, I brought green belly, and I gave it to Ben, a little green belly bar, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm bringing a couple of these. That way I don't have to cook." And I just like them.
Yep.
And Ben takes one bite and spits it out on the ground. I'm like,
What
dude,
was that one? That one was disgusting.
apricot and peanut butter, which is legit.
Oh, that one's not bad at all.
No.
And then
Oh, it was
I
a
gave him
chocolate
the
one.
chocolate
Oh,
banana.
the
Yeah.
chocolate banana. That was really nice.
And he chewed that up and
No,
spit
no,
it
no.
out.
What was it at the house? That's the only one I spit out at the house.
They were both apricot and peanut butter. That's the one you spit out. And the banana and chocolate you also spit out.
No, I just had the
You,
banana.
you like the
Just-
cranberry.
You still spit it out at the house.
Well, that would taste good today. I'm hungry enough.
After
That's right.
10 miles.
Yeah.
He's like, wow, this is not bad.
I stayed at camp today, and then they come back and tell me what day it had been like, and I was like, oh my God, that was so good.
Yeah, Ben.
I washed my hair in the stream, washed my feet.
Oh,
in the
it's raining right
stream.
now. I'm
Yeah.
about ready to go from here to in the dark and just
Yeah.
get bathed. I feel nasty.
Well, it was an incredible time.
Yeah, it was
And
fantastic. Thanks for inviting me. I
Yeah.
really appreciate
We
it.
need to do it again, and
Yeah.
need to get you another encounter with an elk.
Yeah, I'll practice my calling. I was actually practicing my calling on the 11-hour drive. I was
Nice.
listening to the Phelps elk nuggets
Nice.
from the old days.
How's the calling coming along?
I'm gonna compare my notes to what I heard on this one. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
that
Yep.
was pretty funny.
Good times.
Yep.
Yeah,
Any
excellent
closing
times.
comments? We good?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
That was
Let's
a phenomenal
do
trip.
it again. It was great.
Yep,
Thanks
we're-
very much.
We're all gonna
Thank
start the rigs and head home.
Yeah.
It's a late drive. It's 8:30.
Yeah.
I'll get home after midnight. Ben, you're gonna stop and sleep somewhere and
I might stop at your house, actually.
sit on the way.
Yeah, right
You
by.
might as well.
Should, huh?
Yeah. And then continue on.
Get up and go.
Chris, you're going back to Oregon.
Yep, 11 hours.
We're sorry.
I'll sleep on the way. Yeah, that was the reaction of everyone.
Everyone
We found out
It's like from Oregon.
We
Oh, we're sorry.
How long have you been there?
18 years.
Yeah, we got you by far. We grew up there.
Yeah.
So
No,
can
we
fun of
make
it.
fun of Oregon, but
Yeah.
we got some roots there.
Love to go back. And if I was forced to go back, I would be all right.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of rain.
a lot of rain.
A lot of rain. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for listening, folks. As always, stay gritty. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.